right, this is my second ever time out on the bike. I'm on the YZ450FX. This is a sweepstakes bike that you can win if you go to my website, dirtbikechannel.com, in the month of March here. But yeah, I've really hardly ridden at all this winter. Had to come way down south here to even get any time at all, because we've had so much snow. It's been absolutely insane. But yeah, so this is my second time out on the bike, and we're only about 3-4 minutes from the truck, so should be good. But this is more of like the terrain where this bike is going to be. Make sure that drone's still with us. The stuff that we've got out here is going to be where this bike is really a lot of fun, I think. Look at that bike just lofting that front wheel up. Just roll on that power. I'm in the MX Power Feeling map. Checking for that drone again. Man, it's been about 4 years since I've ridden this wash right here. Drone's still hanging on to us. Yep. Let's see. Guess we can go either way. Oh! This bike has got the power. Let's go up here. Oh! Whoa! Woo! That was close.
That could have been sketchy right there, because just off to my left, like a lot of those things are a drop off. Like you'll drop off 10 feet. See that thing, that ledge off to my right there? I thought I was going to drop off one of those. I was just kind of like out of my element because I haven't been riding a lot. I'm not the best rider anyway, but I have hardly been riding this winter. Since October of last year until now, March of this year, I've hardly ridden at all. So I'm way off my riding chops. But as I think about, it's been about a week or so since this ride happened. And as I watch this back and just see what the bike looks like and remind myself how I felt on the bike, yeah, this isn't like this is not technical or anything right here. And it's higher speeds, but it's sandy. And so I can't like get on it all the way. And I'm going to end up as we get into this a little bit more, I'm going to end up in some stuff where this bike is not really well suited in just like some slower terrain stuff. And then the next day I rode the bike, I was in a slightly different area, and I finally got the bike out where I think it really, really shines. And here's where I think this YZ450FX shines. And if you ride a lot of this type of terrain, then you may want one. And that is when you can get the bike in third gear and fourth gear. It's actually pretty magic, especially fourth gear. By the time you're kind of higher RPMs third gear and then clicking into fourth gear, that means that your speeds are relatively high and the bike can feel really, really good. Like I'm saying, insane good. And as I had kind of a little bit of a reminder, or almost like a revelation the next day on the bike. And I'll get to that. I'll have a video that will come out where I'll actually be talking about it and monologuing. You can see me looking for the drone and stuff here. But what the revelation is, it's nice to be able to get a bike in and get the bike actually in the element where it was designed to work. by like the manufacturers and the designers and the engineers of that motorcycle. So a lot of the motorcycles like this is based off of a motocross bike. It's a motocross frame. It's a motocross motor to do motocross and supercross. And that's what most of all of our four strokes are. All of our modern racing and these types of four strokes, whether it's a desert bike, they're trying to make this bike work for Eli Tomac, this legendary supercross and motocross racer. And then it trickles down to us. And when you're trying to ride this bike in slower terrain, it just doesn't do well. It's too stiff to ride in the slower terrain. The motor can't stretch its legs. These motors they're not suited to go down into the low RPMs. They're suited to be like mid-range and higher RPMs because you get it down in the slower stuff and they will want to stall. And I find, in this part of the trail from kind of here on out for the rest of the video, I believe, this is where I'm having a tougher time keeping the bike running. You can see I'm kind of like out into some single track here, and I'm going to go into some stuff that is more like two-stroke terrain, and it's just not great. And so you kind of have to pick and choose what type of terrain you're going to ride for the most part, and then choose the bike that is best suited for that. So as you can see right here, this is a little bit faster terrain. It's totally fine. I would be more comfortable on a 254 stroke here in this stuff. I know because I've ridden them enough. The 4-stroke can just the 450 just kind of wears you out. I do feel like they stall a little easier. I'm kind of at this point now where I'm kind of feeling like the 450s almost stall in the slower stuff. They almost stall a little bit easier than even the 250s do. And so when you're going in this stuff, you kind of like got these ups and downs, and I'm in, shifting between first gear and second gear. I know those don't look super violent, like up, down, but they are enough that you have to be covering the clutch the entire time. Pulling the clutch, slipping the clutch the entire time. And then what happens is so now your clutch finger is getting super fatigued. That forearm is getting super fatigued. And then you're also using like crazy amounts of like throttle control on your throttle hand. And you're just getting more worn out here on this type of terrain than if you had a 2-stroke. So this is more, even though it's, some of the time, I'm in second gear now, it's a little bit faster, but I'm slowing down to like first gear speeds, and it's not great. This is like where all of a sudden I started to get hot, and I'm starting to like, perspire a little bit here. You wouldn't think so, but just the amount of just keeping this bike, changing directions, going up, down through those little things, and the speeds aren't high. Now I'm getting hot on the bike, and I'm burning way more calories than if I'm blitzing out in fourth gear. There were other parts of this ride for this day where I was, getting into third gear and fourth gear, but not a ton. And then the next day, I'm out there and I got into a little bit of a flow state in third gear, fourth gear, and it's like, dang, this is exactly where the bike is meant to be. And if you can get a bike in the terrain where it's meant to go, it totally changes your perspective on the bike. So I had fun. I was having fun on, not right here. It wasn't a ton of fun in this terrain on this bike. It wasn't a ton of fun. See, I just stalled it right there. You can see it. Even though I was covering the clutch, because that's actually pretty steep. You can't tell from the angles on the drone. It's a wide angle lens and then the drone is above. But like you go boom, down into the ravine and back up. And even though I'm covering the clutch, I still stall the bike. It's a lot of work to try to keep some of these running. But then the next day, I go out there and I'm just like whipping out through the desert and some different terrain and having a ton of fun. And it totally kind of like gives you a new lens on what that bike is designed for and what it's made for. And it can make you be like, hey, I love this bike. And so, yeah, I came away from this trip on the next day driving home. I'm like, yeah, that bike really did so well in these areas. And I really, really enjoy it, and I really love it, and I can see what the manufacturers and what the engineers were trying to do with it, and really get a good appreciation for it. What I'm doing right now in front of you on the screen, this is not what the bike was designed for. If you were always going to ride this type of terrain, slower stuff, you'd probably need to put a Recluse auto clutch on there, which I'm not a super fan of the auto clutches. Recluse makes a great product, but for me, I'm like, if I'm going to ride this type of stuff, slower, a little bit more technical stuff, I'm going to want to be on a 2-stroke. I just am. But the bike for what it is, but I'm not blaming Yamaha. I'm not blaming the bike for this. This is just not the terrain that it's going to work well in, so I can't gripe on that. I'll focus on the places where it does do really well. And I didn't even want to get on this trail. I hadn't been on this. I'm like, oh, I kind of got the bike out of its element. Shame on me. But for the people who can only have one bike, which is most of us at most times of our lives, probably going to make sense to ride a bike that fits more of the terrain that you're going to ride more of the time. And for me, since it's such a wide variety of terrain, I end up, and the wide variety of speeds where so much of it is slower and more technical and rocky. This isn't rocky at all, but I'm going to I'll probably take a 2-stroke for that type of terrain. So anyway, remember, this is a sweepstakes bike here in the month of March. I'm giving away this bike and the GasGas Iron Horse. So we're giving away over like $36,000 in prizes. All you have to do is go to my website, dirtbikechannel.com, and you can get entered to win both of those motorcycles because this bike is kick A, and you'd be getting like a $10,000, $11,000 dirt bike for basically next to nothing. So, you should go over to my website and get that done. Get yourself some entries for this bike because it is a killer motorcycle in the right terrain. Desert racers would love this bike. Vet motocross racers would love this bike because it would definitely do motocross really, really well. Better than the type of terrain it's doing right here. And that's kind of what I have for you. So I'm pretty excited to see who wins this bike and who wins the GasGas. And until next time, leave a single track.